USA Warrior Stories is a not-for-profit organization designed to record, archive, and share videos of veteran stories, to help veterans make a connection with one another and to help us all better understand their sacrifices for our freedoms.
My grandfather was in World War II. I grew up listening to his stories, actually. And my father is a Vietnam veteran, a Purple Heart recipient. So yeah, I have background. I have a military history. But there was that part of me, I'm like, I want to be in the military. I want to, that action, that service that my grandfather, I mean, he was always talking about it. He enjoyed that, and I always remember that. And at the end of my bachelor's, I got divorced. And I'm like, I think this is the time. So I was going to go active duty. But I was going out with my friends, to different places. And one night, we decided to ask the guys, and one of them said, do you know there's an Air Force National Guard here in Puerto Rico? I'm like, Air National Guard, and I love to travel. My father was a pilot, so I'm like, really? No, we didn't know about it. So I decided to join the Air National Guard right when I was already finishing my bachelor's, which was good because National Guard, you stay in your hometown, and then you can work, and then you can serve, which is both worlds. You're a civilian, but you're in the military. So nobody knew about the island. Nobody knew about Puerto Rico. When I went to the basic training, they were like, where is that? I'm like, what do you mean, where is that? The ignorance,
Where was boot? Where'd you go for boot?
San Antonio, Lackland Air Force Base. And then after that, my school was in Biloxi, Mississippi. And they were teenagers. I was 27. I'm like, you don't know where is Puerto Rico? No, I'm like, okay, you don't know what type of money we use? That was here in the States. And then my accent, and then I'm like, it was interesting, but so we deployed to many places. I mean, we were the unique bilingual force. We speak Spanish and we speak English with our own accent, but we speak it because I was born in Puerto Rico and raised there. So I'm like, I better stay in the island. I think I'm gonna do good. It's the same as active duty, which I did, I think. So that's why I joined the Guard. In 1999, I started working there as a full-time, and back then, in the 2000s, we deployed to many places. The base, when I said we, is the whole base. They deployed to Argentina, all South America, Central America, Spain, Kuwait, you name it. We deployed to all the places that you can imagine. We supported Operation Noble Eagle, Iraqi Freedom, Enduring Freedom, Joint Force in Germany. I deployed twice to Germany. That was the best experience. We had a Horn of Africa, a lot of missions, and nobody knew about the island. And we were all deploying, and we were all serving our country, I deployed to Germany with the whole operations group, with the C-130s. We deployed the whole unit, like 10 stayed behind, but we all deployed to Germany, Operation Joint Force, 156 operations group. The rest of the base, they were in Puerto Rico, but the unit deployed to Germany. Actually, in September 11, that was one of the deployments. They were flying to Germany. And we had people from the group, from the unit, in certain states taking aircrafts, civilian aircrafts. And we had like 3 airplanes flying en route to Germany. And that was horrible. We deployed and we did many missions, a lot of missions. I mean, we never deployed the whole base. It was the unit. Either to Germany, to the Emirates, I deployed myself. They needed one admin to fill that spot. I volunteered and I went there by myself. The Guard fills the holes. You know, they have rotations. So let's say our rotation was always from August to February. Of course, you know, we needed to cover Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's Eve, everything, you know. Even my birthday is in October. So every time I deployed, it was during the holidays. And either myself alone or with the unit.
How many years total were you in the service?
11, almost 12 years. Almost 11 years plus 7 months or something like that. There were a lot of good times, of course. But in May 2018, there was a crash accident in Savannah, Georgia. They were taking the airplane to the bunkyard, you know, to find, that was the final trip. There were 9 crew members, and one of them was the first outside CONUS, because it's from the island, it's outside continental US, we call it. So the first CONUS mission for him, he had 7 hours of flight. He was a loadmaster. Back in the days when I was in the Guard, he became a pilot. Life support was there just in case they needed some help, you know, the parachutes and stuff and the helmets. So there's life support, flight engineer, crew members from maintenance, because that was the last flight, and taking off, they crash.
We are going to begin tonight with that deadly plane crash in Georgia. An Air National Guard C-130 cargo plane exploded in flames on a busy highway just after takeoff from Savannah today. The crew of 5 and a small number of passengers were killed. Mark Strassman is on the scene.
This security camera video shows the WC-130 cargo plane bank left and nosedive behind a tree line. Witnesses heard 2 booms. First the crash, then, even louder, an explosion. They said the earth shook.
Holy
The crash, its cause unknown, happened at 11:30 in the morning, about a quarter-mile away from a busy intersection. Best believes the pilot saved lives on the ground. All the crew, members of the Puerto Rico Air National Guard, are believed dead. They were en route to Arizona on a training mission. The plane had just finished routine maintenance in Savannah.
And Mark, we are just now getting some new information on this C-130. What do we know?
Jeff did some digging into the plane's history. Turns out this is one of the oldest C-130s still flying. It was on its way to Tucson to be retired. And this morning, after takeoff, it was in the air for about 2 miles when it dropped from the sky.
I remember receiving a phone call from my friend. I was in Puerto Rico. She was in the States taking a training. She was hysterical. I mean, I'm like, but what happened? I didn't understand. I mean, what happened? What happened? And when I finally got it, it was horrible, you know, because you know that can happen. You sign, you raise your hand, and you know that can happen. That's the ultimate sacrifice, dying. But you don't talk about it. You know, you go, you serve, you travel in those aircrafts, they damage, they break, and you can die. So they died in a second. I mean, that was one of the most horrible days of my life. Losing 9 friends, you know, we deployed. They did humanitarian support after the Hurricane Maria for the whole Caribbean. They even took people to Central America. You know, we did a lot of things. It was a mechanical, I don't know the details, but they crashed. It was bad. But after that, they canceled the mission. So Puerto Rico is no longer Airlift Wing. They destroy all the airplanes on base in Puerto Rico. And I have a video of it. It breaks your heart.
What was the reason for all that again?
Because of the aircraft. You know, I don't know the details because, you know, It was a big mistake from different parts. We had no budget. I mean, we are a small island. We're part of the National Guard, but we have our budget. And it was a combination of everything. And at the end, after the crash, for some reason, the National Guard Bureau decided to end the mission. And the airplanes were old. I mean, they were almost all ready to go the last flight. So I guess that's why, I don't know, because, you know, they decided to cancel the mission. And now they're starting a new mission, but I don't know. They're not Airlift Wing anymore. So it's 156 Puerto Rico Air National Guard, not Airlift Wing National Guard, because that mission ended after that crash.
Were there difficulties to the point where you wanted to get out, or you were hurt? Why did you leave completely? Or was you...
I was back in the desert. Now they claim and they admitted that we were exposed to toxic agents, chemical agents, I mean, sand dust, you name it, we were exposed. Burn pits, even nerve agents. So even I was not in the first war, but in 2005, 2006, we still have the burning that I smell. I remember the sky was gray in the middle of the desert, the sandstorm. So my body started to react because of whatever I was there, you know, the mold inside the tent. So I started having allergies. I became ill from the stomach, from my skin. I had PTSD. And when I started working again on base, I put on my uniform at home, and driving, I started having panic attacks. But I had to go to work. I mean, I'm full-time there. And sometimes I started to throw up. I developed tremors, anxiety, to the point that it was affecting the mission. And I went to the doctor, to the clinic, and they asked me, "Are you ready to deploy again? Do you think you will deploy again in your life?" And I'm like, no. And I even have a panic attack when they asked me that. So the clinic said, "You can no longer be in the military." So it was both from the military, and I accepted that I was no longer fit for the mission, you know. And they put me back on active duty orders for 2 years. After I went to 2 psychiatric evaluations, and they said that I had PTSD. I was out of the base after 2 years, and I was 38 is Spanish, 38, and they told me, "You can no longer work." And I'm like, I'm 38, you know, like, I'm in denial, you know, I need to work. I mean, I'm still young. And that was it. I was in full time, so after 30 days, they discharged me medically. They gave me the disability benefits from the civilian job. So I went out in May 2008, medically discharged. I started as a A1C, like Airman First Class, and I became a Master Sergeant. I was an E7. That was the last 2 years. That was after I came back from the desert. I finally finished all the paperwork, and my commander, I had the promotion to Master Sergeant. So I was a Master Sergeant, and I was in charge of a lot of airmen. On base and in the desert, I was in charge. Yeah, I'm proud of it, you know. Yeah.
The way that I've had it described to me, the way that the dogs change lives, and I'm going to go as far as to say save lives.
When did you realize that maybe you needed more help, and then you went to look into service dogs?
It was not until I moved to the States. I mean, I struggled in the island for many, many years. I was isolated. I had no friends. I didn't want to leave, you know. So at certain point, I moved to the States. I had an accident. I fell down. I dislocated my elbow. I mean, I had surgery. They had to reconstruct my wrist. So I was in recovery, and I realized that I can no longer live in the island. You know, this is not working. I have family in Washington State, so I moved. And there, I started seeing veterans at the VA with service dogs. And it was not until I moved to Vero Beach, I found my paradise here. But something was missing. You know, I knew I needed something. And I decided that I needed a service dog. You know, it was time for it. So I waited, and then after the back surgery, I asked the social worker officially, I'm like, I want a service dog. The psychologist and the primary doctor, they need to fill out the paperwork to, you know, that I was disabled in order to obtain a service dog here.
Dogs for life.
Through Dogs for Life. Dogs for Life gave me the paperwork. I gave it to the doctors at the VA because my doctors are at the VA, but it can be any other doctor, you know, that can certify. But yeah, she requires that, and she gave me the paperwork. The VA fill it out, and they send it here. That's the process. I didn't know anything about service dogs. I used to have dogs, but it's not the same. They're not pets, you know. So I enter here, and I sat down, and I start watching how they do the training. And I started learning. So I volunteered every Monday, and every Wednesday I come also to see the training. And it's after a month, they gave me Honcho and Sully. There were 2 dogs here, puppies still. And they said, okay, now you're going to practice with them. And I'm like, oh my God, okay. So I started practicing with him, and then I practiced with Sully, whoever was available. And that's how I get to know the dogs and the basics, you know, volunteering and coming every Wednesday to practice and have interaction with both of them when permitted, you know. It's just.
Did you actually pick Honcho or the choice between the two? How did it work out?
No, Shelly from Dogs for Life, she knew that Honcho was going to be a good fit for me because his cousin Sully, he's more active. And I cannot have a very active dog because of the leg. And she knew instantly because she interviews everybody, and she kind of know the person, the needs, the disability. So she picked Honcho for me based on my disabilities. So yeah, it was a good day.
Did Honcho already have the name Honcho, or you named the dog?
Yeah, his name is Golden Honcho Rubicon. That's how they named him, because he was sponsored by the Treasure Coast Jeep Club. So they included the Rubicon.